seconds. 29.
28 seconds.
27.
26.
25 seconds.
24. 23.
22 seconds.
21 seconds.
20 seconds.
19.
18.
17 seconds.
16.
15 seconds.
14.
13 seconds.
12.
11.
10 seconds. 9.
8.
7.
6.
6 what?
Copy.
5 seconds.
3, 2, 1.
Hi folks, and welcome back to the Scotch Tracker. Today we'll be discussing Star Trek Enterprise. And thanks very much to everyone that's joined the discussion, including our guest today, Todd Stashwick.
Stashwick. Yeah, it's okay. I screwed
Changed
up
the
too.
name from D&D.
Well, it still says Rocksteady, but
Yeah.
it's pronounced Stashwick.
Yeah.
Stashwick.
Oh yeah, it was a it was a steady part that was like, it must be Stadwick. Well,
It's
it was
confusing.
like the back of my
very
mind. It was
confusing.
like, I'm sure it's Stashwick.
I got it.
Cool. So, guys, like, what's your favorite episode of Enterprise? Would you say?
Ooh. Can I go? I think I have one.
Yep, sure.
I think it's got to be Damage for me. I love that just because it really shows what happens when a ship doesn't have the ability to refuel and repair everything. I like that it puts Archer in a dark place, and he makes that decision to go steal. I can't remember the name of the ship, but to go steal this crew's warp core or warp coil. And I think that's just such a clever moment of morality, where it's like, okay, you're showing a hero crossing a line, but he knows he's crossing the line and isn't making any justifications. He's like, I've got to do it, but this is the wrong thing to do, but I have to. So I always find that fascinating. And you get to see the repercussions of that play out for the rest of the series, unlike Cisco, where he does that bad thing and then he kind of moves on and nobody really knows about it. So there's no one to say, hey, was that really the right call in that situation?
Cool. Gregor, have you got like any favorite episodes?
Well, I think first off, I think Enterprise is a little bit unique in terms of picking out a favourite episode, because it had that mix. Pardon me. It had that mix in seasons 1 and 2 of single episodes and maybe a double episode. Season 3 was a story arc, and then season 4 was a bit more Doctor Who-esque, where you had a mixture of single episodes, 3 episode story arcs, etc. But I think if I had to pick out one, or pick out something from that, I think it would be the triple episode that was that involved the augments. I can't remember the 3 names of it, but it was the augments.
Cold Station 12, I think. Yeah, the last one.
Yeah, I think that, and maybe the next one that came after it, that was the Vulcan storyline. I think those 2 sequences would probably be my favourite. I think probably the 2 that I've enjoyed the most in the Enterprise. Yeah.
Cool. So I would say like one of my favorite episodes of like Enterprise, the entire series is Kir'Shara, and joining us today is one of the actors from Kir'Shara. We played Talok. Todd. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning here. Good morning.
Good evening here.
Good evening there.
Yeah.
In Scotland.
Indeed.
So, like, I wonder to like how you got cast in that part and how it came about and stuff.
Well, first of all, I have to compliment you on that opening montage of Countdown. I can't imagine how long it took you to scrub through the episodes to find digits being spoken, because that alone deserves an Emmy. It was, I think it was just a good old-fashioned audition. But I will say, so a couple things. my first fandom was the original series. Like
Oh,
as a
cool.
boy, 1974. I think my first action figures was a Kirk, a Spock, and a McCoy, given to me by my cousin Tori, and then I had the Enterprise fold out set. So I was a big as a little boy watcher of the original series, and then religiously watched Next Gen. So I would always do impressions of Spock as a kid, and then out of nowhere I had done in the late '90s. I did a commercial for Movie Phone, which was it was Space Monkeys, and we were our faces were these sort of cartoony Planet of the Apes, but then everything else was Trek, and I was the Vulcan monkey in those spots. You actually can find it on not YouTube. What's the other one that's like YouTube? I don't know. But if you Google
I can't
what?
think of it.
Vimeo, that's what it is. And so if you Google like Space Monkeys Movie Phone, you can pull up this crazy little parody trailer of me as a space Vulcan monkey. So I'd spent a good amount of my time understanding kind of the cadence of a Vulcan and understanding the tone of
Cool.
Trek. And so when I walked into that audition, I wasn't so much doing a impression of a Vulcan, but I kind of understood where the mindset came from. But what the interesting thing about that character, especially in the audition, is because he's actually a Romulan, having those moments of emotion leak out before it's revealed, so that if you watch it on a review of the episode, you're like, wow, he's awfully spicy for a Vulcan when he's talking to her and kind of going off angrily at her, and then when you see the reveal that he's a Romulan, the pieces all sort of fall into place. So the process was of the audition was go in and perform the scenes, but I went in with a fair amount of cohesive understanding of that which they look for in Trek. Yeah.
Cool. So, and like, do you have a favorite episode of Enterprise? Like, were you a watcher of Enterprise
at the time?
Before you appeared in it?
When Enterprise was on, I had a young child. I had a boy. This was like 13 years ago. Like, how many years ago was Enterprise?
It was 2001,
20.
I think it started. Yeah, 20 years.
Yeah, so I had a 3-year-old, so I wasn't seeing much TV at the time. I did not get to. I came back to Trek, I think, with Discovery.
Oh, cool.
So there was that period, and especially at that time, there wasn't streaming services. There wasn't TiVo yet, I don't believe, or it was just starting. So that's a bit of a blind spot for me. And the upside is it's now all on Paramount Plus to go back and enjoy. And so I got to work with Bakula again on Men of a Certain Age. So it was a fun little reunion. But so I don't have a lot of a deep bench knowledge of Enterprise, as it were. I did see a few episodes at the time, but again, I was living the exhausted life of a working actor and a father of a young child. So I am remiss in that arena. But I know the Kir'Shara episode is probably my favorite.
It's a good episode. I gotta say, just to talk about that episode, it does such a good job of explaining why the Vulcans are slightly different in Enterprise, because I know that was a criticism at the time, and it does such a nice just job of wrapping everything up and making it make sense and having it fit the timeline. Which
My
I actually
friend Kara Zedeker played T'Pau and I had known her prior to her getting cast on the show. And so it was also fun to be on set with her and both of us going, can you believe this? We're standing on Vulcan. I'm holding a Lirpa. Like, what is happening? You know, you have those certain pinch me moments as an actor that tether back to your youthful passions and nostalgia and whatnot. And it was, you know, it's those moments where you go, we're not cosplaying. Like, this isn't cosplay. Like, this is officially blessed by the people that say what is Star Trek and what is not. And here I am in a silver lame jumpsuit with pointy ears and eyebrows, and I'm holding a Lirpa and I'm standing on Vulcan. Like, it is. And the other cool thing is, canon-wise, if you watch them in chronological order of all the shows, if you watch Enterprise first, I am the first Romulan ever revealed.
That is true.
On screen.
Yeah.
On screen.
So did you?
That's a nice distinction.
Oh yeah, definitely. Did you ever find that playing a Vulcan and trying to remain serious was more difficult, especially if you were fanboying out, or were you able to separate that?
I wasn't fanboying during. Work is work, and fanboy's fanboy. They're not. I'm able to compartmentalize, and you know, it's like getting to act with, you know, some of your favorite actors in my life. There is a way that you just go, okay, well, right now we're just coworkers and we're doing a thing, even though I may be a huge fan of the body of their work. I'm able to separate and go, suspension of disbelief. I am a Romulan pretending to be a Vulcan right now, and just kind of lean into it. I mean, that's the job. So if I couldn't do that, I'd be screwed. You know?
I before going live, like with this interview and discussion, I rewatched Kir'Shara, and I realized like the last lines that you say are like, this is just like a minor setback. You know, the reunification of where people will come about eventually or whatever, and that's precisely like what they've depicted. Like nowadays in Discovery, like the Romulans and Vulcans all share the same planet.
I lit that fuse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So joining the chat on YouTube, is new viewers saying like they love season 4. One dude, Gregor and Chris. If you have a favorite season of Enterprise yourselves.
So,
I'll go back to when I first started watching Enterprise, and you'll remember, Dan, being in the UK, we got it on Channel 4 initially, and I wouldn't say I disliked it. I think the worst thing I could say about it was that it was a little bit dull compared to what had gone before. So I sort of watched the first season, sort of lost interest midway through the second season, and I didn't actually watch it all the way through until about 2016, believe it or not, based on a recommendation. So I was then able to watch it all the way through and discuss it with people that had seen it all the way through. So it was a much more enriching experience than watching it through that time period, 2001 to 2005 would have been. So with that in mind, I would find it very tough to pick between season 3 and season 4. I know some people don't like the Cindy War. I actually do, because it was pre-Federation, and to me, both seasons, although they're very different, they personify what it must have been like before the Federation, and I think they both do it very well. So yeah, it's tough. Sometimes I think 4, sometimes I think 3.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think 3. When I was younger, I liked 4 more because it was easier to follow. And I think for me, it was about 2013 when I was able to borrow a bunch of the DVDs and go through season 3 and watch it that way. Because I think if you're watching it week to week, you can actually skip some episodes that don't really expand on the story arc. But if you watch like the main ones, you can see trying to think of the best way of describing it. It feels more like DS9. It feels like, okay, when you're watching a character one episode, you'll see them slowly change. And the change that the crew goes through, the fact that Archer starts off as, starts off the series is like, hey, let's just go out and meet people. Let's have some fun. I can't wait to try some new foods. And then he like, oh, we have a mission to do. And then he slowly becomes more jaded and more, I guess, traumatized by his actions. So if you think seeing all of that, watching it like on DVD or watching it on Netflix or Paramount Plus, that's the way to do it, because you can skip all the stuff. Whereas I found watching it when it came out, when I was younger, so it wasn't before of, oh, we got to go find the Zindi homeworld. Oh, this guy will tell us where it is.
Your internet was dropping out. Sorry.
Oh, is it better now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just like it's like, okay, we're gonna go talk to this guy. This guy knows where the Zindi homeworld is. Oh, we go there. Oh, it's not quite true. And then it just feels like it takes a long time to, I guess for the plot to progress. But when you're watching it, all in one go, you get that full experience of not having to wait too long. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like you get to enjoy it like newer shows do it now, where it's like a 6-episode thing, but it's all connected and it's like one big movie. So I think I enjoy season 3 more, but season 4 is really close.
Cool. So Todd, I wondered like if you had like any difficulties wearing the makeup or anything like that, or was that all fine?
No, fortunately, I've done a lot of shows where I had a good deal of makeup, and
cool.
Buffy and Angel and shows where they've had to head cast me and then just covered with contacts and teeth, and so having a couple of ears put on, my eyebrows covered up, a wig, and it was a breeze, and it was really kind, because they just, at the end of the night, they're just one use. The ears are just one use, right? Like they can't really. They make them, and then they have to make a new set, because once you start tearing it off, they get all frayed up. They're just latex, and so they let me keep the ears off the last episode that I did, or the last day of shooting. And so as a gift, I made a little box for my uncle with the ears and like a Romulan crest, because my uncle Joe and I share a love of Trek going way back, and so I gifted them to him. But the actual makeup alone, you don't even notice it. Like your face warms up underneath it. None of your vision is constricted, and I've had it worse, where like you just suddenly feel like you're covered in packing tape, but the Romulan / Vulcan makeup is breezy.
Yeah,
I'll have to give a nod to the makeup artists, Todd, because I think by this point they were so good at all these the regular species that you would see. I remember watching, I think it was on Cyric Lofton's podcast one time, and they had Tracy Lococo on as a guest, and they had one of Michael Westmore's old makeup artists, and on camera he turned her into a Cardassian in about 40 minutes. I kid you not, it was amazing.
Oh yeah, these guys and gals are so good at what they do. I think I was in and out of makeup in 20 minutes.
Wow.
Like once the big part is they take a piece of latex and they cover up your eyebrows so that they can put their eyebrows on. I know that had I been on the show regularly, I know that Zachary Quinto like shaved his up to a point, and then they would start with his actual eyebrow and then build off from there, because he'd have more control over it expression wise if it was literally connected to his. For us, we're just actually having to move a piece of latex up and down with the eyebrow. But That is the most time-consuming thing. The ears go on like that. Then it's just evening out the skin tone and then fitting you with the wig. But
Well,
it
I wondered
was
about like the head ridges for the Romulan.
yeah. So then they have to move the hair back a little bit so that it exposes the forehead. And that last day or of being a Romulan, it is just a bit of a forehead piece that I believe has the eyebrows built into it. So that appliance just goes right on all at once, and it's pretty. They have it down, especially because they have to do it day in and day out, and for the episode that I did, there was at least 4 or 5 of us running around that planet that they had to move through makeup just to make your day.
Cool. So,
That's amazing.
like I wondered if you've got like any favorite characters from the show, or like
From Enterprise or from Trek as a whole?
from Enterprise.
Again, I'm not familiar enough with the series to have grown any attachment specifically to any characters, and I plan to go back and watch it now that it's all collected in one place like that. But I don't know those characters enough to say one way or the other. Full disclosure.
Chris?
It's tough. I think it's. I don't know. On any given day, I could say it's Archer, I could say it's Phlox or Trip, but I would say it's got to be one of those three. Maybe Phlox, because I think in a lot of ways,
is he the cook?
he's
The Doctor.
yeah, the Doctor.
Oh,
But
okay. Who was the one with the pink face? Who was the cook? Or am I mixing up shows?
Well, see, it's funny you say that because I think a lot of ways. Are you thinking of Neelix from Voyager?
That's what I'm thinking.
Because I actually think that Phlox is sort of what Neelix was meant to be, like the fun, jovial guy, but not that Neelix isn't jovial, because he is. But I find his relationship with Kess doesn't bring out the best of him. But I feel like Phlox all the way through is a fun, jovial guy who's just happy to be there. And I would maybe make the argument that he's one of the most Starfleet people, because he really is able to do the thing where you're like, all right, I'm not going to make a judgment about your species. He's just like, he's fully in. He's going to try all the food. He doesn't balk at things when he's uncomfortable, as opposed to other characters who are like, I don't really want to eat gawk because it's live worms. But he's like, oh, I'm in. So I think he's just
Sign
all
me up.
around, all around great character. And I love the fact that in season 3, he doesn't really change that much. He's able to stay himself and kind of help everybody get through this horrible trauma.
Very cool.
Yeah, I think myself, I would be tempted to go for Phlox as well as the character that had probably my favourite character, probably the most character development, or one of the characters that had the most character development. I think there's one or two others that did get a really good crack at the flipping Enterprise, and others didn't. I think it was also John Billingsley is great, isn't he, in the role? You know, I mean,
Who plays him?
John Billingsley.
Oh, John Billingsley.
Yeah, he has this fantastic speaking voice. He's a fantastic actor. He's obviously done quite a lot of guest parts in various shows, stuff like The West Wing, etc. And he's just great. But it's interesting about you saying how he's the most Starfleet, Chris, because there is the one episode that deals with the ethnic cleansing back on Denobula, which I can't remember. He's a little bit prejudiced in that.
Right. Okay.
But I think the whole
Preach.
point when you tell those types of stories, it's so that you see it from the viewpoint of others, and then it's how you reconcile that is the important thing. That the journey is more important than the end.
Exactly.
That's the way I would look at that.
Yeah.
I think that episode's called The Breach.
I think so. Yeah, the one where he's rescuing the scientists
Yeah.
Yeah.
or something. Yeah, I think so. Okay.
I think it's an Antaran they're against.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that one.
Todd, you mentioned like Discovery. I wondered like if they asked you back on Discovery or Picard or any other show, like live action show, like or even animated, like would you be up for reprising the role of Talok?
A heartbeat. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'd have to see where he'd fit in. He'd be, well, he'd be dead in Discovery. He'd be, oh, you know what?
Oh,
Like how much? So you take Strange New Worlds, and you go, which is coming up. How many years between Enterprise and Strange New Worlds is there? And then
Mhm.
how old do Romulans live to?
like about 100 years,
100 years between Enterprise and
something like
Strange
that.
New Worlds? Because Strange New Worlds is original trilogy timeline or original series timeline, right?
Yeah, that
I think it's about 100 years.
I think that
I mean,
the
look, people
only.
can trip through time tunnels all the time, but
Mhm.
uh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, I was just going to get really nerdy because in Star Trek 2009 they mentioned Admiral Archer, so it seems like he's still alive. So I'm not sure. I don't really fully know how long the time is between young Kirk and.
It
Uh,
also could be a descendant of Archers if he had kids or something.
that could be true. Yeah, I don't know. It's
Well,
something I like
although
to think
Porthos
about
is
too
also
much.
mentioned.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in answer to your question, it would be he'd be a very old Talok in any of those series. So
Unless you use time travel.
unless you use time travel. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, I would love to. I would love to put those years back on. That'd be fun.
cool. Um, Gregor and Chris, I wondered, like, if you thought like all the main characters of Enterprise were given enough focus on the show.
Mm,
Um, Watching it, like, I felt like to go from sort of like the structure of like TNG, where sort of DS9 and Voyager, where it was sort of more ensemble casts. I thought it was could be quite difficult to go from that to. But did you think they were
yeah.
fleshed out more in later seasons of
No.
Enterprise?
I don't know if you want to go first. Right?
Well, I
'Cause
think
I have a thought.
overall, most of the characters did get a fair crack at the whip in the 4 seasons that they did get. I would, however, say that there were two characters that certainly didn't get a fair crack of the whip, and that would be Mayweather and Hoshi. I thought they were
Okay.
completely,
See,
almost sidelined.
it's interesting. I thought for me it was Travis. Like it was Travis who didn't get anything. He had I feel like he had two storylines, like two episodes. There was when he met up with his family on the freighter, and then in
On the
the
horizon.
yeah, and then the penultimate episode when he had that storyline with his ex girlfriend who was a reporter. But I feel like between that he didn't. But aside from those, he didn't really get anything to do. Whereas I felt like Malcolm and Hoshi sort of got storylines. Like Hoshi had the experience of getting over her fear of being in space and her confidence. Malcolm became a little bit friendlier, I think. But it's tough because I think they get into the Kirk trio where it's like you have Kirk, Spock, and McCoy who get all the storylines, then you have the rest. Where in this show I feel like maybe you get more flocks, but for the most part it was the DePaul, Trip, and Archer show.
Cool. So,
Yeah, I mean, I
Todd,
think I think
yeah,
Malcolm,
go ahead.
overall, I mean, I don't think you necessarily need to be the focus of a story in a single episode to have character development. That's and I think you certainly seen Trip and Malcolm develop without being the central characters over the seasons, and I certainly feel that about Trip. It's the first time back in 2001 I was like not really sure about Trip, and then when I rewatched it 5 years ago, I was over the first 2 seasons, I actually got to like Trip, and then in season 3 and 4, I thought he was a great character without necessarily being the central point in any of the episode storylines.
Cool. Todd, I wondered, like, if someone asked you to like pick what was your favorite to play out of like the Vulcan or the Romulan, like which one would you say?
Well, I would say the Vulcan was more fun to play because there were layers to his intentions. It was buried intentions. And so playing against the secret is interesting. I mean, once I was, at last, we'll reveal ourselves to the Jedi. Like it's that if I can Darth Maul that moment. It's a little dare I say mustache twirly when you get to that final scene when you reveal that he's kind of the puppet master, working undercover. There's just a little bit of mwahaha in that moment, and which is always fun to do, but it's not layered and nuanced in the same way that it's like I'm trying to keep my cover, but who I am as a being is going to leak out in between the cracks, and that is much more fun to kind of dance in the moonbeam of all of that. So playing the Vulcan, and I played the Vulcan much longer than I played the I literally was the Romulan in one scene. I mean, technically, I'm a Romulan in all the scenes, but playing a character who's pretending to be something is far more interesting than playing just the guy who is who he is. And the guy who he is interesting, but not nearly as interesting as trying to walk that line.
Cool. So, thank you so much for coming on the show today. And thank you to Greg and Chris for co-hosting. It's been great to speak with you all.
Yeah, it's been very fun. So we all got to do it? Are we all doing? Doing
I already did it.
Okay.
You can only do it once.
Okay, fair enough.
I can't believe I was able to do it with my left hand.
Cool.
I did it with my left hand, and it's a right-handed gesture, isn't it?
You know what? You're right. That is actually a good point. I think it is typically done from the right hand. I don't.
Yeah.
Have we seen a left-handed Vulcan?
But I was amazed that I could do it with my left hand.
That's my right-handed one.
Yeah.
This is my left-handed one.
Oh yeah. Are you a southpaw?
I am a southpaw. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. There you go.
Well, it was taken from like the Jewish priest that would do it, where Leonard Nimoy took it from. Would do it with both hands. And we see a Sorak statue that does it with two hands as well.
Very good.
Huh. Very briefly, but yeah, thank you very much for coming on the show, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks to all our viewers who are watching. Thanks to Zero Option for commenting and watching today. We hope you enjoy the show if you're watching it back, like after we've been live. And please remember to like and subscribe to the video. We'll see you next time on the Scotch Tracker. Track you later.